Hello, Chicago. Welcome on in to another episode of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Gonna be a busy show in store for you tonight. It's trade season. It's the MLB trade show is here. The White Sox got things started this afternoon. Michael Kopech, gone. Eric Fetty, gone. Tommy Pham, gone. We will break that down. We will analyze where they're going, what the Sox got coming back. We will wish those gentlemen a fond farewell. Happy trails. Hopefully, better things will be ahead for them. We'll break down the major deal that Chris Getz orchestrated today for the White Sox. The Cubs, they also got in on it. They got in on it a day early. Christopher Rell is out the door, but Isaac Paredes on his way back. Interesting move there. So we will break that deal down as well on the north side. Of course, training camp is upon us. The Bears are doing things, so of course we're going to talk about them. An update from Bears training camp today, and then some updates on some new facilities that'll be coming around for some of the sports teams in the area. All that and more coming up right here on Chi-Town Weekly, part of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go. Once again, hello and good evening, everyone. I am your host, Adam Karnik. So glad that you are here with us tonight. Lots to go over on this edition of Chi-Town Weekly, breaking down everything happening in the best sports town in the U.S. We are going to be talking trade show going on in the MLB. We've got NFL training camp updates for the Bears as they get ready for their preseason opener on Thursday night against the Houston Texans. And we got some new things popping up with stadiums around the city, some new things in the work, both for the Bulls and with the Chicago Sky. So we got some interesting things coming up there. We will dive into those as well. Lots to get to tonight on tonight's show. But before we do anything, of course, we do want to acknowledge our sponsors here at the station. So without further ado, we will hear very quickly from Planet Jerky and from Seal the Deal Wax Seals. This is Adam Karnik. You'll be right back after this. Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
And welcome back on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. So let's dive into this tonight, shall we? The big story of the day, of course. The White Sox officially started the Southside Fire Sale. And good evening, by the way, to both Ralph Calise and to Taryn Rodriguez. Good evening, gentlemen. Glad to have you here. If you are watching the show live here tonight on YouTube or Twitter or Instagram, hop on into the chat room, interact. We can have some fun that way, going back and forth. If you are listening later on in the week as a podcast on whether you're listening on Spreaker or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, wherever you catch our shows, thank you for making this part of your week. You can follow along. This show is available for you on Twitter at IESRC, or you can follow along with me personally. I am at Adam_Karnik. So let's just rip the Band-Aid off and dive into this, shall we? We knew it was coming with the MLB trade deadline tomorrow. We knew that there would be moves on both sides of town. We knew what the White Sox were going to be doing unquestionably, that they were going to be sellers, that there was just no way that they were going to be doing anything but selling. It was just a question of how many guys and what they would get in return. And that started officially this afternoon with a 3-team deal involving the Dodgers and the Cardinals. We saw Michael Kopech go to the Los Angeles Dodgers and head out west to help LA continue its run of dominance out there in the National League West. Meanwhile, we saw Tommy Pham and Eric Fetty head over to the St. Louis Cardinals. So a 3-team deal. And I want to make sure that I get the returns correct here. So I'm pardon me as I make sure and just read it directly here. The trade also involved infielder Tommy Edman going from the Cardinals to the Dodgers. The White Sox reportedly are getting 4 prospects. I have only to this point seen 3 names. Miguel Vargas, infielder / left fielder Miguel Vargas, infielder Geral Perez, and infielder Alexander Albertus are the only names I have seen reliably reported. Supposedly there is a 4th prospect that is coming back to the Sox, but I have not seen any reliable report give anything other than those 3 names. Now, Vargas has already spent some time up in the majors. He's played some third base. He's played some left field for the Dodgers. A bit of a pull hitter, a bit of some pop in his bat. The other 2 guys are both 19-year-old kids that are currently in low A ball. So they will report to the minors. They will report to the White Sox minor league farm system. It's honestly kind of a disappointing haul to me for the White Sox. I mean, if you've got thoughts on it, feel free to hit us up in the chat room live or reach out to us on Twitter, either at IESRC or at Adam_Karnik. But it really feels like this is an incredibly low return for the Sox that we've been hearing for weeks how it's an extreme seller's market. And I want to talk about that some more next week once the trade deadline is over. I think MLB, it's a significantly quieter trade market than MLB was expecting. And I've got some thoughts and some reasons on that. I'll dive into it next week a little bit more. But suffice to say, if you were a seller in this market, you've basically been able to ask for whatever you wanted, and you've gotten it. Michael Kopech, Eric Fetty, and Tommy Pham, you sent away 3 major league players, 2 of them pitchers, which are always hot commodities come trade season. And all you got were 2 teenagers and a guy that has made his major league debut already. So he's going to be up in the majors for the White Sox in Velasquez. That's a very puzzling return, a very, very puzzling return, because the Sox they're not going to be competitive next year. So to get a guy that's major league ready, you don't need that. Yes, there's team control for the next couple of years, but you didn't need major league ready. You could have gotten better quality prospects out of this. So it's a disappointing return. I saw CBS Sports gave the White Sox a D. I know Matt Spiegel of 6-7 to the Score, one of their regular hosts, but also a big baseball guy. He had a very, very low opinion of the trade, that he felt like they didn't get enough, whether it was they weren't asking for enough or just simply settled too quickly. Whatever the problem was, they just didn't bring in enough on this. So it's a very disappointing haul. Now, Garrett Crochet is still available. Luis Robert is still available, though I did hear this morning that there's not much of a market for Luis Robert right now. So he might be somebody that come 5 o'clock tomorrow evening is still with the White Sox. Garrett Crochet had some strong opinions that he came out with this past week, talking about were he to get traded, he's got some, let's go ahead and call them what they are, demands for whatever team would take him on. First of all, he only wants to be a starter. If you're going to even think about using him out of the bullpen, you better be offering him a new contract. That he only wants to be a starter. He has no intention of pitching out of the pen. And he wants new paperwork. And I don't blame him. The guy he's getting paid $800,000 this year. Now, I know for you and me, that's a ton of money. We sign me up. I'll take $800,000 right now. Thank you. That would no complaints. For a major league starting pitcher, certainly one that is having the season he is having, that is a pittance. So I understand where he's coming from with that. And that has reportedly that has scared some teams away. So we'll see what that does if they'll be able to trade him. The White Sox might wind up having a little bit more success trading for him in the offseason. I've kind of felt that all along. Frankly, if I'm another team, I don't know that I'd want to trade for Crochet just because we've literally never seen him throw this many innings before. I don't want to trade for Crochet and then find out that his arm has gone, that in the middle of September, his arm goes dead because he's just never had to do this workload before. And, oh man, now the guy that I acquired for this October, I don't have. So I also, I've said this a lot and I'll continue to say it. I'd be just fine with them keeping Crochet too. But it does feel like they're going to be moving on from him, that it's they've talked about it too much that they kind of just have to do it at this point. Meanwhile, the Cubs, they got busy too with that, trading for Isaac Paredes yesterday. This was an interesting one. We talked about this last week. I brought this up last week when word had come down that, Jed Hoyer has gone on the radio and said that the Cubs aren't going to make any moves expressly just for 2024. And everybody kind of assumed, they're selling. They're selling. And I brought up last week that no, he said that he wasn't going to make any moves that were just for 2024. He's going to be making moves to look to help the club in 2025 and beyond. That means they could be acquiring some major league talent that's just not rentals, that's got years of control left on them. Enter Isaac Paredes. Yes, it cost you Christopher Morel. Yes, it cost you Hunter Beach. It cost you another Ty Johnson from the high A system from South Bend. But this is an improvement for the major league roster right now. Christopher Morel, I talked about how the Cubs were going to have to make some hard decisions, that some guys that they liked, they were going to have to move on from. And Christopher Morel was one of those guys that it was, hey, you've got to add offense to this lineup. They've got a lot. They care a lot about the defense up the middle. That means your corner spots, your first base, third base, left field, right field, you're going to have to get better, more consistent production. Christopher Morel was not consistent. He was a guy they loved. He was a guy that absolutely has a ton of pop and power in his bat and is a terrific teammate, a wonderful guy to have on your roster. But in order to get something, you've got to give something up. And so to see Christopher Morel get moved, I understand it. I get it. It makes all the sense in the world to me. First of all, because Paredes is going to be your third baseman. He's not in the lineup tonight as they're taking on the Cincinnati Reds. He's not in the lineup tonight. But I would expect and anticipate that he'll make his Chicago Cub debut tomorrow in Cincinnati. And then you just looking at him as a third baseman, he is leaps and bounds better than Morel. The biggest problem with Christopher Morel was you had no natural position for him in the field. Probably the position that suits him. And the Cubs tried him everywhere. They tried him at second. They tried him, of course, at third this year. They had him in center field. They had him in left field. Probably the position that suits him best is probably second base. But with Chicago, you've got Nico Hoerner there. You've got a Gold Glover in Nico Hoerner. You're certainly not going to put Christopher Morel at second base consistently. Morel's just not an improvement there defensively. He's not necessarily a liability, but he's not anything special like Hoerner is defensively. And offensively, his bat's just too up and down. So this is an improvement all the way around. Paredes, you do have consistent power there from Paredes. He was an all-star already this year with Tampa Bay. He's got over 30 home runs in his last roughly season's worth of baseball. So you're going to get that. My concern with Paredes, and it's not to say that this is a perfect situation. My concern with Paredes, good evening, Drewski, checking on in. Yeah, hope you're doing well. We're talking baseball. We got trades going on. The White Sox and the Cubs got busy with the trade deadline quickly approaching us in about, what are we now? 21 and a half hours away, roughly, from the MLB trade deadline. My concern with Paredes, all of his power comes to the pull side. He does not spray the ball around the field with any power. All the power comes when he pulls the ball to left field. That is a concern. My fear, I was talking with a coworker today. My fear, what I hope they haven't done, is acquire a right-handed version of Jason Hayward, where everything is a hard hit two hopper straight to the middle infield. You know, with Hayward, it was always the two hopper to second. My fear is that they've just got a guy who's going to have a lot of two hoppers to shortstop, and the ball just gets thrown across the diamond, or worse, it sets up a tailor-made 6-4-3 double play, and that's that. You know, that's my fear. So hopefully they can work with him on getting him to use the whole field a little bit more, even if he's still primarily a pull hitter. You can pull the ball out of the yard at Wrigley. There's nothing that's going to stop you from that. Hopefully they can just get him to also use the gaps and push the ball to right field a little bit more with some consistency. That's my concern there. But we will see what else they do as both teams are in play tonight. The Cubs coming off of taking a nice 2 out of 3 from the Royals over the weekend. Surprising series victory there for the Cubs. Liked seeing that. They're still mathematically alive. I would not expect much to happen, though. Jameson Taillon did get the start tonight for the Cubs. So I know there were a lot of rumors flying around that that he would potentially, that he's been on the trade market, so he could potentially get scratched from his start tonight in order to make him a more appealing trade target. As it is, if you trade for him, you've got to trade for him with the understanding that it'll probably be Saturday before you're able to throw him again, throw him next. But you know, if you're going to trade for him, you're probably still going to trade for him. And then we'll see what else the White Sox do. In the meantime, the White Sox tonight, they are playing tonight as well, but they are just continuing this horrible season. They made some more history yesterday. Their second 14-game losing streak this season. Just the fourth time all time in Major League history that a team has multiple 14-game losing streaks in a season, as the White Sox now roll into Kansas City to take on the Royals tonight. So well done, White Sox, on just continuing some brutal history. I did see some just truly awful statistics to make it even worse. If you were to take those 28 losses, those two separate 14-game losing streaks out of this White Sox season, first of all, they'd still be 27-53, a full 26 games under 500. And they'd still have the worst losing streak they'd still have the worst losing percentage in all of Major League Baseball. I don't know which of those statistics is more impressive, frankly. That I just know that neither one of them is any good to be wearing. Go Sox, go. Ugh. Well, we'll see what else happens. We will see what other moves both of these teams make as we hit the MLB trade deadline tomorrow evening, 5:00 Central Time. We are going to take a quick break, but then on the flip side, we've got a football game this Thursday. I know, kind of sort of a football game. It's a preseason game, but it's Bears. We've got Bears actual football to dissect and dive into this week. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back to talk the Bears next.
Hey yo, what's up? It's your man Bishop, the voice of This Is KC Sports, the show where we go over the Chiefs, the Royals, KC Current, Sporting KC, MU, and oh yeah, if we got time, we'll even throw in some of that KU stuff for my people on the 913 side. Come and hang out with us every Sunday, 2 p.m. Central Standard Time on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Hello, sports fans. It's me, your boy Larry B, and I want to walk you through the world of sports. No, not just the mainstream major TV deal type sports, although those are important too. But let me be your guide through your journey of all sports, from college to the pros, the minors, and everything in between. Each week, we are talking sports galore with true diehards just like you from a hardcore fan's perspective that's sure to quench your thirst around leagues you may know all too well and some you may even discover here. That's right, sports fans. If you love sports of all kinds, enjoy hearing amazing sports stories, and respect all sports because you know how difficult any of them can be to play or compete in, then this is your show. Join me, your boy Larry B, on the defining moment each week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports, and let the sports come to you.
Welcome back on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio. There, we made it through all that baseball talk. We survived it all, especially, those White Sox. Yug. Let's have some fun, shall we? Let's talk some Bears. We've got a football game to dive into and sink our teeth into this week. Yes. All right. It's a preseason game. All right. It's the Hall of Fame game. And so you're not even really going to see a bunch of the important guys. It's still football. We can still dive in. We can still enjoy it. It'll still give us that hit that we need. It's been a long off season, It's been all the way since January since we've seen our beloved put on the navy blue and orange and hit some people and some stuff that matters. Let's dive into it, shall we? Caleb Williams, he is hoping to play in the game. And he said he's ready. He's on track. He's on pace for when the games matter and for when things are really getting going. I'm torn for this one for Thursday night. On the one hand, yes, I want to see him. I want to see Rome. I want to see the new guys. I want to get some kind of a glimmer of what this is going to look like. On the other hand, the number one priority, the number one key to any preseason game for me is come out of it healthy. Do not get hurt. I would be perfectly fine if all we see from Caleb Williams on Thursday night I would be perfectly fine if it's one drive and he hands the ball off every time. I'd be perfectly fine with that. And here's why. He's still getting in it. He's still getting in and out of a huddle. He is still doing a cadence, and he is still taking a snap. These are all things that as a rookie, you're going to be doing a lot as a professional. And they're things that in college you didn't do very much of. You operate almost exclusively out of the shotgun in college. You're not huddling up very much at all in college. The play is coming in from the sideline, and you have to do some small relays, but it's really the play is coming in from the sideline, and everybody, sees those giant cue cards and then goes from there. In this case, you're having to give everybody the play and make sure that everybody knows what the play is. Make sure they all get lined up correctly. Making sure that everybody understands your cadence. There was a little bit of trouble in the very beginning of OTAs with Caleb Williams and his cadence with his offensive linemen. The Bears are having still basically a tryout for the starting center job between Coleman Shelton and Ryan Bates. Now, that job may wind up getting decided for them because for the second training camp in a row, Nate Davis is not participating. Last year, all right, he had a family member pass away. Incredibly understandable. Very understandable. But then partway through the season, he got hurt. So that restricted his availability to the club. Now he's hurt again. And so now you're having to reshuffle the offensive line. Now you're having to have one of the reasons that Ryan Pace Ryan Poles, not Ryan Pace. Ryan Poles so coveted getting Ryan Bates from Buffalo was because he offers you positional versatility. He can play center and guard. So you can use Ryan Bates at guard and Tevin Jenkins at guard and then have Coleman Shelton be the center. But that's still having to use backups. I want the starting offensive line out there. So I'm frustrated that Nate Davis is injured. Your biggest ability in any sport, but especially in football, your biggest ability is availability. You've got to be out there with the team. Taryn chiming in, he doesn't think the Texans are going to play starters. With the season that CJ Stroud had last year, I would hope that the Texans would bench him. There's nothing that CJ Stroud can get out of playing in the Hall of Fame game other than being in that stadium. I guess that's something. There is zero reason for CJ Stroud to play in the Hall of Fame game. So I would have no problem with Stroud not making it. With Williams, it's again, I want one drive. And if all he does is hand the ball off 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 8 times, whatever it is, great. For Williams, it's that experience of almost behind the scenes things that you don't think about when you're watching a football game. Can you get everybody in the huddle organized and understand? I remember hearing a story. I think it was, now I'm going to blank on his name. Of course I am. Tight end for the Bears from a decade ago. And of course, now that I have to do it off the top of my head, I'm going to blank on his name, but he would tell the story of what it was kind of like in the huddle while Jay Cutler would be getting the plays. You'd have Matt Forte would be cracking jokes. The tight end would be pretending to sprinkle magic fairy dust on everybody. And then Cutler would finish getting the play. He'd come in, he'd get down, he'd turn around and he'd go, all right, everybody shut up. Here's the play. And just snap everybody to attention. That's something that Williams is going to have to learn how to do. These little tiny things. That's why, to me, there is some value in Caleb Williams playing on Thursday night. The second anything even looks remotely like a hard hit, get him out of there. Get him out of there. He's way too valuable for your team as a whole. But one drive, getting in and out of a huddle, doing a cadence, taking snaps under center. Yeah, those are some valuable reps. Those and being under true fire. He did inadvertently wind up under fire this weekend. Montez Sweat actually came around the end and hit the ball out of his hand and made contact with him. Matt Eberflus immediately yanked Sweat out of the practice. It was, look, you cannot touch the quarterback. You know that. You have to know that here, that you cannot touch our quarterback when we are doing these drills. That's why they've got the orange jersey on. So he's inadvertently faced some somewhat live bullets, but getting to face a couple of bullets on Thursday night, wonderful. He gets his feet wet. He gets those first game kind of, as much as a preseason game gives you jitters, he can get some of those first game jitters out of him and then get him the heck out of harm's way. Let him watch the final 57 minutes and change from the sideline. Great. I'm perfectly fine with that, but I'm okay with a drive. I'm okay with one drive for Caleb Williams. We will, of course, be breaking down that game next week. There's also a wonderful opportunity coming up here that you will get to listen and hear some more Bears talk on Thursday. Larry B, has the czar and overlord of all things IE Sports Radio, and also the host of 3 and Out, has been a very, very, very busy guy the last couple of weeks. He has been putting together previews for all 32 teams across the NFL. And this is the NFC's week. And on Thursday, it will be NFC North Day. You want to learn about the Packers. You want to learn about the Lions. You want to learn about the Vikings. Thursday's your day, starting at 9 a.m. Central Time. You will get to hear all about them. And then Larry was also gracious enough to ask me, and I, of course, said yes. He and I chopped it up for over an hour, talking all things Bears. So you will get an in-depth preview, a recap of last season, everything from over the off season, and then a dive into this upcoming season, everything you could possibly want to get into the Bears this season. That's coming up this Thursday. The show starts at 9 o'clock Central, 9 a.m. Central Time, right here on IE Sports Radio, right here, wherever you're watching right now, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, it'll be here for you. If you're listening later on live as a podcast, it will be broadcast over all those podcast platforms in the afternoon. So wherever you're listening to the show, you'll be able to hear it. Just follow along with IE Sports Radio on all your major social platforms, and you will be able to find it. It's going to be a ton of fun. We're going to take one more quick break, and then on the flip side, there's going to be some new things coming around here in the city over the next couple of years that both professional basketball teams in town are going to benefit from. We will talk about that project, the Project 1901 on one side, and then the new practice facility for the Sky on the other. You are listening to Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Be right back after this.
Hey sports fans, do you like wine? Well, we've got the show for you. This is Let's Wine About Sports, a show where we talk about wine and sports simultaneously. From the classic Cabernet Sauvignon all the way down to the grapes that you've never even heard of before. Oh yeah, we cover it all. And we'll talk about a little bit of sports as well. Football, hockey, collegiate, women's sports, it doesn't matter. We're going to talk about it all, and we're going to whine about it all. So join me Monday at 8 p.m. on IU Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
It's IE Sports Radio. It is your direct feed for all that is sports. It is Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris every Tuesday night right here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris is the most comprehensive view on Philadelphia sports exclusively right here on IE Sports Radio. You know what it is, your direct feed for all that is sports. Tuesday night, IE Sports Radio, Philly Sports Talk with Cash and Chris.
And welcome back into Shite Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Karnik with you here for about another 6 minutes or so here tonight before we turn things over to Taryn Rodriguez of Set Point, breaking down everything happening in the world of professional volleyball. I don't know where on earth he'd find any content for a show tonight. It's not like, oh yeah, the Olympics are going on, tons to talk about there. So be sure to stick around. Taryn Rodriguez will break down everything happening with Team USA, the beach volleyball. That's the stuff I love. Or there's the indoor stuff as well. Everybody's having a good time over in Paris. So be sure to stick around for that. Locally still, we got some interesting stuff coming up right now. We got some interesting projects that got announced and finalized in the last week. Let's start with the Bulls, shall we? The 1901 project around United Center. This is, and I'm going to read this straight from the 1901 project's website. By the way, this is the official website. Kudos to the guy who created the fake website for Project 1901, where you click and got the Bulls themselves to accidentally include it as the official link. You would click on it and it just said, "Sell the team, Jerry." So props to whomever that was. That was outstanding and amazing. Kudos to you, sir. However, on the official Project 1901 Chicago website, this is, quote, a transformative $7 billion private investment on Chicago's West Side, celebrating Chicago's unique spirit. Spearheaded by the Reinsdorf and Wirtz families, the 1901 project will transform the West Side with a jolt of new development, bridging neighborhoods and enhancing opportunities for residents, businesses, and all of Chicago. It is 55 acres of what are effectively right now just the parking lots for United Center, getting it turned into, you've got parks, you've got housing, you've both what they refer to as affordable and luxury housing. You've got a 6,000 seat theater that they're putting there, plus then creative parking solutions. Because that was one thing I'll honestly admit, when I first heard the project, it was like, yeah, but you still got to get 22,000 people into United Center. They got to park somewhere, but they are going to still include parking. It's just going to be integrated in with these other things. It is going to be roughly a 10-year project to get this done. But I love the pictures. I love the ideas, getting the parks and another theater. It's a great size venue too, about a 6,000 seat theater. You can have some more intimate shows there that can really be entertaining and just a personal vibe then for the audience. Really feel like you're sitting there one-on-one with the artist or artists or the presenter, whomever the case may be. So some really creative ideas there. And of course, the biggest thing is it's going to be privately funded. This isn't public use money. This isn't taking money away from teachers or schools or firefighters or hospitals or police or emergency responders or anything like that. This is privately funded money. So I love the sounds of it. It is very interesting to see. I am very anxious to follow that track. They are apparently set to get started it right away this coming spring, late winter, early spring. They should be getting started on it. The first parts of the project, I believe, will be getting in the theater. I believe that's one of the first parts of the project. So kudos to that. That should be very cool. And then also the Chicago Sky. They have been begging and desperate to get some new practice facilities there for the Sky. That was actually part of the reason that they were unable to get some of their free agents. It played a factor in why some of their players were asking for trades and needing to leave the team, just because their practice facility, what they're currently using is far away from the city and not theirs, that they have to share it with other things. And this new practice facility that's going to get built over in Bedford Park, very close to the airport. This is going to be dedicated and custom built for the Sky. Yes, it will be able to have other uses. 40,000 square feet of exclusive space. But it's going to include 2 regulation-sized WNBA courts, first-class amenities, private facilities for the players, player lounges, a film room, an advanced training room with cutting-edge strength and conditioning, and a private chef's kitchen. These are things that they don't currently have access to. It'll be closer to Wintrust Arena, especially. So players will be able to live close to both the arena and the practice facilities. There will also be uses for it for the community itself. So it's not going to be just exclusively for the Sky. There will be other things going on and used for it. So this is going to be very cool, much, 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 much needed for the Sky, and something that they are definitely going to get a lot of use out of. That is going to do it for our show here tonight. Huge shout out and thank you again, of course, to our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky, or go to planetjerky.net to place your order. They are offering free shipping on all orders of $50 and above. And when you order, mention that you heard the ad on this show, and there will be a free gift heading your way as well. Also, thank you to Seal the Deal Wax Seals with Cecilia B. Thank you for sponsoring us. You can follow along with them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax seals. You can order at iesportsradio.com/sealthedeal wax seals. Big shout out and thank you, of course, to Larry B, the czar and overlord of all things IE Sports Radio, and part-time producer. Thank you, sir, for doing that, for being in control of some of the buttons and things behind the scenes. Thank you to everybody that hung out with us in the chat room tonight. Ralph Calise, Karen Rodriguez, Drewski, Jen B, Larry B. Thank you to everybody that hung out in the chat room. Thank you to everybody that was watching live tonight, all 217 of you. Thank you for being here. Whether this was your first show or your 193rd, thank you for being here. I hope I was able to entertain, give you something to think about. And finally, thank you, whoever you are, whether you're listening live or you're listening later on as a podcast. Thank you for being here. I absolutely appreciate it. Thank you very much. Let everybody know. Follow along with the show. You can share the show. This show is available on all the major platforms. Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, CastBox, Deezer, all the major platforms. Next week, we're going to be breaking down Bears preseason, baby. We've got a game to talk about. We'll also see what else happens at MLB trade deadline, and we'll see what else there is. We'll see you next week. Have a good night.